What a special day for our university and for this community. We're glad that you're here to help MSU be a part of the Hometown Hall of Famers plaque program. The story of Jan Stenerud is one that fills every Bobcat with pride. You'll remember that he was originally from Bozeman, Norway. He was recruited to Montana State as a skier, not as a football player. He was actually named an All-American skier after finishing fourth in the ski jumping in the 1964 NCAA championships. Basketball coach Roger Kraft discovered Jan on campus and helped recruit him to the football team as a kicker, and he's going to tell that story here in just a little bit.
Jan asked me to tell this story, and it's a pleasure for me because it's to be associated with a guy like him. I would cut across the football field going to basketball practice, and one particular day I was going by, and Jan was kicking kickoffs from the 40-yard line and putting them all in the end zone or beyond. And after I watched this 2 or 3 times, I walked over to him and I said, "Jan, can you do this with one step?" He said, "Oh, I think so." I'm an old center, and I got down and started to center the ball to Jackson, and he put the ball down and he put it through the uprights. Put it through a couple times, and Jan turned to the holder and said, "Hey, don't hold that ball so tight." He said, "It hurts my knee when I come through like that." Well, and a week or so later, the Bobcats had a home football game that weekend, and on a Friday afternoon, you know, I would just go out for a limbering up session and not real intense. I was cutting across the field again, and all the skiers were up in the stadium, and they would always wait till the footballers got through and then play soccer down here to get in shape for skiing. So I saw Jan there, and I yelled at him, and I said, "Jan, come down here." So he came down, and I said, "Jim, you're going to watch this guy kick this football." He said, "Is this the one you're talking about?" And I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Line up in kicking formation." So they did. And the holder was on the hash mark at the 35-yard line. And the ball was centered, and Jan put it through the uprights. Jim said, "Let's see that again." So he put it through again, and we moved over a little ways, and he put through another one, and then he walked over to Jan. He's patting him on the rear, and he said, "We got pregame breakfast tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
We want to say, Jan, we're really proud of you, and we salute you, buddy. And he undoubtedly has a story or two that he will try to bring to the forefront. Jan Stenerud.
About half a century. And I'm not going to talk for half a century. But I remember I get a letter from Montana State, from Coach Bob Beck. And along with that letter was one from Tor Fagerås, and I saw Bill Irvin here a while ago. My eyes aren't good enough to recognize my Bill. He was on the ski team, and Tor Fagerås was a really famous skier in Norway, and all of a sudden it disappeared. So what had happened, he had gotten a scholarship at Montana State to ski. So in 1962, I had finished 6th in the junior nationals in ski jumping in Norway. I got a letter from Bob Beck offering me a full ride ski scholarship at Montana State. And Tor Fagerås wrote a little note and explained what that was. And so I didn't know, I was just graduated from high school. I wasn't really sure what my future plans were going to be. And my father was all for it. He thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a good idea. It was a free education and going to the most exciting and the most tremendous country on earth. It was very exciting. My mother was not quite as excited. She thought maybe I'll stay here for a while. Came to Montana State, had a great time. We had a really good ski team, good skiers. It was fun. It was fun. The campus in Europe, at least in Norway, they didn't have when you go to school, you stay at home and you go to some buildings, but the campus life and this whole atmosphere was just so exciting for a 19-year-old boy, and it was just a fun time. and the skiing was great. And but I realized soon that the big people on the campus were the basketball and particularly the football players. And we all went to the games. And 8,000 people, I think, was a full house over there. I thought that was a pretty good sized stadium, actually. But it was fun to go to the games. Now, I didn't like football too much because you played for 4 seconds. You ran into a big pile, and then they stopped for 30 seconds and stood around and talked for a while. And then to me, they did exactly the same thing again, ran into a pile, and then they stood and talked about that for 30 seconds. So anyway, it was still fun to go to the games. And then when Roger talked about when I was discovered, I kicked a few times with Del Jackson. And Sweeney got hold of me, and of course Sweeney, he was a dominant individual. Even at 35 years old, some of you guys remember him. He dominated every room he was in. He was just absolutely an unbelievable guy. And he's the one that, of course, gave me the chance because I was kind of a sideshow or a circus. I was the only person on the field that couldn't play football. Didn't even try to play football, couldn't play football. And he never had a guy that only could kick before, so he had to make certain things in practice happen, so he made some adjustments, and he, instead of being the sideshow or distraction, he embraced this idea, and he was great. He was absolutely great. And so were my teammates. Because instead of making fun out of me, as some of you do know, the first game, my hip pads rolled backwards, But I'm not going to tell that story. But please stand up, all of you. Remain standing, please. I'm going to introduce Cliff last because he doesn't want to stand that long. And I'll take you, Cliff. Steve Rundle, Gary Richards, John Jernberg, Terry Albrecht, John Winchell, Randy Peterson, Dan Sundling, Bob Gibbon, Dan Hodge, is that Ray Becky sitting there? Dale Jackson, Jerry Jimison, and Earl Hansen. These for Cliff Heisel, please, Cliff. Please remain standing. These were the guys that made me feel welcome. They're the ones that really made my career, in addition to, Roger being a big advocate for me, from Jim Sweeney. Sweeney was the key man, obviously, but you guys, you made it possible. I would never forget that. Also, these guys were terrific football players. We won several Big Sky championships, and one thing I can't help but saying it, these guys, my teammates and I, we never lost to the Grizzlies. Okay, thanks, guys.